Well, the Electoral Commission has been facing intense scrutiny from members of Parliament, some of whom today questioned its credibility in the eyes of the public. Now, these came up during a marathon meeting between the EC boss and parliamentarians early on today. My name is Prince Minka and welcome to today's big story. Now let's just get you details of this particular story which has been unfolding for the past hours. And in a meeting that have lasted for several hours, the lawmakers sought to find out from the Electoral Commissioner boss, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, projections for the provision of security during elections and also the issue of no verification, no votes. Now, if you do recall, participants of the consultative forum in the Eastern region appealed to the Electoral Commission to critically look at the no verification, no vote rule that was used during the conduct of the 2012 general elections to ensure that no eligible voter was disenfranchised. And a number of politicians have varied opinions on this. But let's go on the phone lines now and speak to the Member of Parliament for Obuasi West constituency, Honorable Kwaku Kwarteng, and let's get a sense of what transpired in Parliament early on today. Honorable, good evening and thank you very much for joining us on today's big story.
Good evening.
And so the credibility of the EC was questioned, its independence and the various issues regarding the electoral reforms came up. What really triggered all these?
Well, today the Electoral Commissioner, represented by the chairman, was invited to the chairman for the Electoral Commission, I have to say, was invited to brief Parliament about some of the reforms happening in respect of our electoral processes and related matters. And so he did appear, he did make a statement explaining some of the reform steps that have been taken in the past and some of the prevailing issues. So essentially that was what it was. And then members of Parliament had the opportunity to get into the mind of the EC on some of issues that we have all been talking about, no registry, no verification, no vote, what it means for our electoral system and the recommendations from people who think that we need these changes in our electoral system, the recommendations made by the judges in the verdict of the recent Supreme Court petition and such other matters. I have to make the point that the EC did not make any firm commitments. On some of the issues, we wanted firm commitments from the EC. We quite didn't get that.
Give me specifics, those that you want a firm commitment on, that you say the EC failed to give.
For instance, we wanted to know when exactly we can have the District Assembly elections, and all that the EC could say was that the current tenure of the District Assemblies is up to April next year, and that he could assure us that it will happen within this period, that is by April next year, we would have had the District Assembly elections.
Honorable Kwaku Kwarteng, I'd like you to hold on the line. Let me also bring in a political scientist and also the Member of Parliament for Tyne constituency, Honorable Asare to as he also expressed his view on some of the issues that came up as far as the meeting between yourself and the EC boss is concerned. Honorable Jantutu, welcome to today's big story.
How are you?
Now, let's deal with an issue Honorable Kwarteng raised a while ago about the fact that no firm commitment or reasons or assurance were given as far as the conduct of the District Assembly's elections is concerned. Is that a sense you got when the EC boss took his turn to speak to you today?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I have to thank your numerous listeners. Yeah, as a matter of fact, what happened was that the EC boss explained that they were already 1 month aside the schedule that would have permitted them to conduct the elections within the period that they said they initially said they were going to. Some people initially they mentioned September, then October, and then but he said that legally they will have to operate within a time frame that ensures that this current assembly does not operate beyond its authorized limited period. And so, he said that the vote, and maybe try to quote him that they would try to ensure that the elections are held within the lifetime of the current assembly.
But is that to you
April 2015?
But is that to you a firm commitment?
No, that's not firm. That's not firm at all. He said within a period. He couldn't state that maybe on April 5th or September 5th or whatever. He couldn't. But what that it would be within the period of now to April 2015. So yes, he did not. It wasn't the same commitment to the House.
Honorable Kwarteng, what then are the implications then?
Well, what many have been expecting was that we could have a district assembly election sometime in October. And I got the sense from the assembly members in my own municipality that they were expecting, I think through some convention, that these elections had to happen much earlier before the tenure of that particular assembly expires. And so they were expecting some. That I had reason to suspect that this thing will run into next year, and I have been telling some of my assembly members that I suspect that it will run into next year. There was a good opportunity today to hear from the Electoral Commissioner when exactly we can have that election. But my own sense, and this did not come out clearly in what he said, my own sense is that this election will go into next year. The district assembly the district assembly elections will go into next year. Because once he says, look, the life of the current assemblies would expire next year, April, and he puts in that date, and already he's telling you that he's behind schedule, and we all know some of the issues being discussed. There even have been suggestions that we should tie the district assembly elections with the referendum we're going to have on the constitutional review. Now, all those matters have not been resolved, and I have very little difficulty reading that the EC would probably have this election next year.
Could that therefore be the reason why some of you chose to, doubt the credibility of the EC and for that matter, its independence in the conduct of elections prior to this particular meeting with the EC boss in Parliament today? Honorable Kwarteng.
Well, I think in respect of the district assembly elections, the matter did not come up as an aspect of what has been described as lack of confidence in the electoral system and the EC itself. I don't think so. I think purely...
No, I was actually referring to general elections, yeah.
Exactly. In respect of the general elections, I mean, many have seen the things we have gone through. Even the court verdict, that seemed to say... yes, we are upholding the results as were declared by the Electoral Commission, still had reason to suggest that go and do this, go and do this, go and do this. And therefore, given that in the past we had very, I'm restraining myself, but this assembly elections we had the last time round was nothing to praise the EC about, and we all agreed that it was bad. And so there's a sense in which there's a burden on the EC to prove that this time we will not have difficulties in the local government elections, but also some of the reforms that were suggested, not just by the judges in the Supreme Court case, but from the public will happen. I do not think people make that point about lack of confidence in the EC to suggest that the EC is not in a position to do its work anymore. But I think what they're saying is that those aspects that cast doubt on the competence of the EC, and we have seen the many figures that have come out, for instance, as figures on the electoral register. There are several versions of those figures. What came out in court was different. What was on the EC's website was different. I think if we are looking at all that and asking the EC to sort these bits out in order that we will have full confidence in the electoral process. That is how I understood it. Today.
Let me bring in John Tutu. Now, listening to the EC boss, do you feel that the issue that people go to say that actually casts doubt on the credibility of the EC was dealt with as per his presentation earlier on today?
The most often than not, we tend to discuss these issues were clouded with, partisan politics. And I'm hoping that today's discussion would be devoid of partisan politics, so that we can educate the people properly on these issues. With regards to the election, this level elections, yes, the last one, there's no convention that says that it should be held within a. I remember the last one was said even sometime in December or so. So there is no such convention anyway. But then we are now even thinking, there were suggestions that we should have a specific time frame for elections for this assembly, just like we have for general elections.
But with the general elections, yes.
These are all structural reforms that can be brought in. But for now, as things stand, it can be varied according to the maybe nuances or maybe the exigencies of the time, or maybe existing with the financial difficulties or whatever. But let me come in here. We were talking about reforms in our political history. We realize that these reforms in our political history have been there always. Since 1992, when we started using these opaque, ballot boxes. We changed them into transparent ballot boxes. We changed into pictures. We changed it was black and white. We had colored.
But my question to you is that how does that lead to building confidence in the EC?
I'm drawing an analogy.
Right.
What I'm trying to say, I was listening to my other colleague, and I'm saying that the fact that somebody suggests that we should have reforms does not necessarily cast doubt on the elections of the previous years. Because actually, incidentally, we've been having reforms after every election. Every election in Ghana, we've been having reforms. But that does not cast doubt on the preceding elections. As a matter of fact, this is a bit, controversial, because to me, I stand in a different position from him. That to me, I think the elections were won clearly, and the electoral commission, the High Court, which has where the Electoral Commission has no hand in its deliberations, also came out to confirm it. But what I'm trying to say, that is neither here nor there. I don't believe this is the format for it, but I'm bringing it in because it was mentioned. Really, we need to reform and ensure that we are able. Let us be very candid.
And so, are you saying that with these reforms, the confidence in the EC will in no way be questioned by anyone if these reforms are implemented? Is that what you're saying?
The confidence of the EC being questioned is to me it has been a problem with me. To me, we've had one of the most credible throughout the whole of Africa, and to me, and that's why I'm stipulating that it's to me. To me, we have had one of the most consistently bold and just electoral commissioners in the whole of Africa.
Right.
Look at the bashing that Afarijan received, but he has been consistently professional in his handling of everything. So to me, I have never ever had doubt about the credibility of Afarijan, the place or the electoral commission. That supervised over 6 elections, where the opposition and the current government both won and lost elections.
Okay.
I think we have to look at it from that angle. But then, we do not have any, suffice me to say that we do not have any perfect electoral system in the whole world.
Very well.
So there is room for reforms in any way. But what I'm trying to drive at is that whatever reforms we make, do not cast doubt on the previous elections. It's not because we are asking for reforms to better our electoral system, but not because the first one was not credible. For that one, if you take that position, I would beg to differ. It is because we need to enhance our electoral system, but not necessarily that it is because the past election was faced with a serious challenge. The election itself was not faced with any serious challenges. Let us look at this. No verification, no vote system. we all Kenyans, and we realized that there were other forms of verification that were acceptable. We had the name verification, we had picture verification before the biometric finger verification, which was made mandatory anyway. To me, that had an issue with it. If you are able in the system where you are able to show that it is this man's name, it is this man's picture, and then you are able to, then the third part of it does not say that it is the man, and because of that, it is 2 against 1, and based upon the one that you believe in, you say we should discredit the person's vote.
Very well.
To me, I think it's unfair.
Very well.
Here we are in the system where we are revolving. These are some of the things that may come in and into focus when we are discussing whether we should have some structural reforms in the current electoral process.
Let me bring in Honorable Kwarteng now before I let both of you go. Honorable Kwarteng, confidence in the EC and some of the points being made. You think that electoral reforms? Yes.
My colleague's suggestion that have been partisan. I mean, he prefaced what he said by saying, let's not be partisan.
No, please. I never said partisan.
If I can just continue. I think it was unfair.
I want you to do, but I didn't say that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
But I don't think I have thought, or even those who question the EC in Parliament today are seeking to make a certain point that the outcome of the last election was not properly declared. That case has been fought in court. MPP, we still disagree with the verdict of the court, but we have stated time and again that we have accepted the results, and that is why we are working together.
No, but the point here is that you need to have people believe in the Electoral Commission, an institution mandated to conduct elections.
If I can land.
Yes, go ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, the focus of discussion now is not whether or not the last election was properly won or not. That matter has been settled by the court, and we are moving on.
Well, yes.
But there are things that have to be done. And today, let me just cite one example. The Electoral Commission himself in Parliament today said, the position of the law is that no verification, no vote. And by this, we are referring to biometric verification. That is what the law says now. The easy things, as he indicated in court, that if, for instance, a parliamentary candidate who has gone through the process, they've inspected his voter ID, they know he's on the voter register, comes to verify and somehow the machine cannot verify him, and you will not allow the person to vote. It is not a good situation, and therefore he himself had a problem with the law. This is the easy. Now, you see, if you are a voter who registered but went to the polling station that day and the machine refused to verify you biometrically as a result of which you could not vote, you will not have confidence in the electoral process. So let us not be too paranoid.
No, but there are implications.
The last election,
but there are implications. If anyone has that point that, look, you cannot believe in the EC, you can't have confidence in the EC owing to certain challenges it faced. I mean, going forward, we have reforms and all that. Yeah.
Sorry, when people say we don't have confidence in the EC, I will not put it that way. But I think what people are really is the electoral processes. So it is the same EC all the political parties have submitted recommendations to. It is because people have confidence that the EC is capable of steering these recommendations and the changes that have to happen so that our electoral system will be improved. So when people say we don't have confidence, we should think of it as not having confidence in the process. If we didn't have confidence in the EC, then we, for instance, you will not put the question to somebody you do not have competence in. We don't want to help the process. So my conclusion is that there are a lot that, as my colleague indicated, that can be done to improve the system. We have always done that improvement. Now, in the last election, things happened that should not happen. Now, we're saying that going for those things must be corrected. Let's not mix that with somebody questioning the outcome of the last election.
So, listening to the EC boss today,
we should support the EC.
Yes.
We should support the EC to correct the wrongs that we saw, so that going forward we'll have a better system, that nobody would go to the polls and be denied their right to vote simply because a machine made it impossible for them to vote.
Okay, a simple yes or no would do for this question I'm going to put to you. Listening to the EC boss today, do you think we're going to have an election which will not be fraught with challenges that we saw in 2012?
It will depend on how the EC conducts the issues the commissioner himself put forward today. He himself says he has a problem with the law on some points. He indicated that electoral presiding officers, for instance, may need to be national service persons, may need to be teachers. These are all issues we should resolve. Depending on how we resolve these issues, we will be in a position to say whether going forward we will think we'll have a better electoral process than we did the last time.
Very well. Thank you very much, Kwaku Kwarteng, for talking to us on today's big story. Kwaku Kwarteng is the Member of Parliament for Boase West constituency, speaking to us about a meeting the members of Parliament had with the EC boss, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, over electoral reforms and various issues around reposing confidence in the Electoral Commission, which is a body mandated here in Ghana to conduct elections. We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll speak to the Center for Democratic Development, and we'll find out from them exactly what they make of the various outcomes of this particular meeting between the EC boss and members of Parliament. You're welcome back to today's big story here on Joy News on Multi TV, and we're still discussing the various issues that panned out as per the meeting between the EC boss and the members of Parliament early on today, where the credibility of the EC was brought to fore, and a lot of questions were raised about issues regarding electoral reforms as well. One of them including the no verification, no vote also came up. But let's quickly go on the phone lines and speak to Dr. Franklin Odro. He's the programs officer for the Center for Democratic Development. He joins us on today's big story. Doc, good evening to you.
Good evening. Good evening to your viewers.
Certainly, many thanks for joining us. Now, proud to the EC boss, Dr. Kojo Afari-Gyan, facing the members of Parliament early today. Some of them, I mean, when I say some of them, I'm referring to some of the MPs had mentioned that people are questioning the credibility of the EC, and for that matter, confidence in the EC is lost, it's not there. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that the Electoral Commission is one of the governance institutions that have attracted considerable high trust levels among Ghanaians over the years. If you take many of the studies, including that for Barima studies that we do every 2 years, the Electoral Commission is one institution that has always received high trust levels. And therefore, its credibility in the eyes of Ghanaians generally is high. So if there are situations where people are beginning to question the credibility of the election management body, then it should be a source of worry for many Ghanaians. What it means is that the referee or the umpire who is supposed to manage and conduct credible elections, the trust level or the confidence level of that body is being questioned. But of course, we need to look at that question critically. And on what basis was some of the MPs say that the election management
they looked at all the challenges the country faced as far as the elections are concerned in 2012, and going on to suggest that, look, the EC has a lot of questions to answer, and the various issues that came out following the election petition and as far as the 2012 elections are concerned. Now, for this alone, some of the MPs think that people are gradually losing confidence in the Electoral Commission.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. From what lens are we looking at that? I'm sure that if you go and talk to some other MPs who probably will say that the election management body did well, or it hasn't lost any credibility.
Right.
But I think it is important for the election management body on its own to look at these questions, these comments, these reservations coming from the law-making institution, to sort of ask those questions. What are the areas that people feel that we are not doing well? As you rightly pointed out, the petition that followed the 2012 elections raised so many issues. Even the judges that pronounced on that case also sort of made some kind of recommendations, and most of them are administrative reforms anyway, saying that they think that the election management body can do it better. And I think the election management body itself has also recognized some of these things. That's why they asked for recommendations from civil society, from political parties, from all Ghanaians.
And I guess you're talking about the electoral reform. So
exactly.
How then does that become a solution to dealing with this particular perception out there?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that election administration is a human effort. I think in order to erase this perception, whether it's a perception or it's a reality, is for the election management body to sort of assure Ghanaians that we have learned a lot from what has happened over the years, not only 2012 elections, but previous elections. What are the lessons that they've learned, and how are they going to deal with it? I think that kind of assurance is what Ghanaians need, that the election management body comes out and says that we identify these things. These are the recommendations people have made. These are the steps we are taking to ensure that elections are better next time around. Mind you, my friend, there is no country that has perfect elections. We all aspire to get closer to perfect elections. There are always challenges with elections. What we don't like or what we don't want is to have these challenges to be persistent, to be repeating itself over the years, and to a large extent become so widespread that the integrity or the credibility of elections become questionable. And I think that is what the election management body has to deal with.
But just as we heard a while ago, some of the MPs mentioned it, even though it was a closed-door meeting, they mentioned that the EC boss failed to be firm on which date specifically we would have the district assemblies elections conducted. Now, this alone, to some of them, goes to suggest that, look, the EC is wobbling in a lot of challenges. So going forward, what should be the solutions?
Well, I think, first of all, I was not privy to the discussion that took place, so I can't be certain as to what the level of questions were and the level of responses. But I think if I'm to address your question generally, one of the things that we need in this country is some kind of predictability to elections. Unfortunately, for local government elections, we haven't gotten that. For general elections, we do know that every December 7th, 4 years, every December 7th, we'll go for elections. And therefore, there's some kind of predictability there. But for the local government elections, unfortunately, the importance that we need to attach to that as a country, we have not. The 2010 election was not the best. Going to 2014, 6 months to the end of tenure of the current assembly, we are not certain as to when the election date is going to be. And I think that's very worrying. It doesn't give some kind of credibility and seriousness to the decentralization program and the local government that we are all aspiring to have.
And certainly, Doc, this discussion will go on for some time now. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us on today's Big Story. We've been speaking to Dr. Franklin Odro. He's a programs officer with the Center for Democratic Development, speaking to us here on today's Big Story. Now, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll get really interactive because there's a lot of issues happening right now on this various social media. Marion Turi will be here and she'll tell us a bit more about the performance of the African teams in the World Cup. All right, welcome back. Time now for Joy News Interactive, and here she is, Mariam Toure.
Yay!
Yay!
Today I'm not sulking.
Well,
I have gone through my grieving process.
Okay.
I've come to acceptance.
Which is essential.
Yes.
Yes.
So I've jumped everything. Acceptance now. We're done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so we're looking at the various African teams
exactly
in the World Cup.
All the 5 have played so far in the first rounds, and so we're looking at their performance and whether or not it looks likely that after the second and third games we'll be able to progress to the round of 16. So that's what we're looking at today.
All right, take it away, Mariam.
Thank you. Wherever you are, welcome to your interactive show. My name, as always, is Mariam Toure. Yeah, this is a live production, and welcome to your show. And this show is nothing without you, without your comments, of course. You'll find us on facebook.com/joynews on TV. Comment on all the posts we put that would amplify your voice by sharing what you're sharing with the rest of the world. At Joy News on TV, at JN Interactive GH, and at MN Toure. 3 Twitter handles ready to retweet your thoughts and share what you're sharing with the rest of the world. Joy News, I am at multitvworld.com. That is our email address, and our WhatsApp number 054-010-9009. And JN Interactive, as always, is where tech meets news to set the agenda. So today we have we are calling this one the performance of the African teams in Brazil. The first round of matches in the group stages has ended. There have been loads of surprises as some underdogs have upstaged the big guns in some of the matches. Perhaps the biggest shock was the 5-1 dribbling of defending champion Spain by the old rivals, the Netherlands, in what was a repeat of the 2010 grand finale in South Africa. Each continent has reps at the Mondial. Africa has 5 countries in there, including the African champions, the Omonigers of Nigeria. Cameroon started the African championships, the African campaign, if I could say that, but they lost to Mexico by 1-0. And that actually sparked a lot of debate in the minds of African soccer pundits who actually thought things may not go well for the continent. Then the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire gave us something to smile about when they defeated Asian giants Japan by 2-1 at dawn on Sunday. When we all heard Nigeria will face Iran in their first game, we all thought it was a done deal. It was really done and dusted for our sisters. We all expected a cricket scoreline, but Niger actually disappointed us. They played out a barren game. As connoisseurs put it, the unlucky 13th game has ended in a draw, and the first draw of the World Cup. The Black Stars ultimately had all the African countries rallying behind them in their Group G opener against the USA, a team that had fallen to the Stars twice already. We expected to put them in their grave, actually, and give an encore of the 2006-2010 World Cup matches, but that wasn't to be, as the Stars were beaten by the Stars and Stripes of the USA, further denting our image and making qualifications to the next round very difficult for us as a nation. Just yesterday, our white brothers, as I call them, from North America, Algeria succumbed to a 2-1 defeat at the hands of a younger Belgian side. So today on JN Interactive, we are asking, have the African teams lived up to expectations? Before we get the discussions going, though, let's watch highlights of all the 5 games that have been played in the first rounds. Stay with us.
Here's Hector Herrera and Aguilar. Eased out by Cheju and sorted out by Song. Came to Layun, whose strike. And here.
moment here.
Hunter with his right, sets himself on the left, an absolute rifle. Barry's got no chance. 15 yards.
And it's Boney! The equaliser for Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast are flowing. They have a second goal. It's remarkable. Gervinho joy.
It adds so much when the crowd are so into the game, doesn't it? Nigeria's first corner taken here by Chelsea's Victor Moses. Moses takes. Goalkeeper's not got there. On the row! Referee will say here, no goal. Onazi! Well, this is high-tempo stuff from the Super Eagles. What a great start they've made to this match. Nigeria's goalkeeper at his very best.
It's the substitute, John Brooks. Pandemonium inside the stadium at Natal.
From the penalty spot, scores Algeria's first goal of the World Cup in 2014. Fellaini! Oh, he's got it! On from the bench.
Clint Dempsey, the USA have takeoff. Here's Andre Ayew. That's the equaliser. All Ghana's pressure eventually pays off.
Yes, those were the highlights. Very disappointing, of course. We live to fight another day. I guess that's what we have to say. But we are furthering this discussion, and I have on the line Coach Opele. He is actually a football tactician and analyst who's going to help us, understand all of this that has happened. Hello, good evening, Coach.
Yes.
Welcome to JN Interactive.
Thanks.
I want to ask you, what are your views on the performance of the African teams so far?
Well, they've not been doing well, except Ivory Coast, who did win their first game. But it's no surprise, because from time immemorial, that African country started going to the World Cup. When we have two or more countries going, we usually see only one particular country doing so well.
Right.
So it is historical antecedent that we're living on now for us to know that the Ivorians may be the only African country that may qualify if the others do not do well. And so it's of no surprise for us to see only one African country standing out so far.
Right. But some people are of the view that they have not been that impressive. And do you share this? But I am thinking that from what you just said, you share the view that they haven't been impressive at all.
Yeah, it hasn't. And, the African game, we've got our own problem. Because I don't know whether it's naivety or we seeing the European countries as superiors or the South American.
Right.
And this thing has been hunting us for a long period of time. You realize when Nigeria did play against Iran, the Nigerians could not find any gap for them to score against Iran. They had to draw when they were having much possession in the game. So it's what some of us see as naivety on the part of the African countries. That's why you only see one country coming in all the time to do so well by being mentally strong, having strong mental toughness, and then being able to withstand the European or the South American challenge. So it has always been like this, and it doesn't help the Africans at all.
How should they prepare for their next matches? What would you say about that?
Well, I think they will have to be tactically ready. They have to know how they will have to approach games or the opponent. And then psychologically, they need to psych themselves up. They need to tell themselves, it's not over. We can make it. We can do it. Let's go out there and do a good job. And to me, if they are able to do that, it will really help them. But then you can have all this. If you do not have quality, it also harms you, especially quality in play, and then quality among the players, and quality technical bench. If you do not have that, you cannot succeed at this level, because at this level is a fair ground for every team to exhibit what they have. So they will have to be able to have that mental toughness, have quality in the technical aspect, and also have in-depth in terms of their play.
As a coach, I'd want to find out, do you think there are any calculations or myths that may work against the teams in their campaign?
Well, yeah, it usually happens. There are myths and even statistics that usually follow, especially the African countries. Like where Ghana falls now in Group G, no African country has ever come out of that group.
Right.
Since 1998, that they inserted the Group G into the World Cup groups. Tunisia failed in 1998, Togo in 2006, and Cote d'Ivoire in 2010. All three countries fell out in the Group G. And then, like I said, since in the 70s, you usually see only one African country coming out of the group. But we saw two countries going, I think, since 1982 or 78 or so. We saw only Morocco coming out in 1986, Cameroon in 1990, Nigeria in 94, then Nigeria again in 98, and then Senegal in 2002, Ghana in 2006, and Ghana in 2010.
Right.
So the trend follows that. Even if you send 20 African countries to the World Cup, statistically you only see one African country coming out of the group stage to the next stage of the competition. So these are some of the things that usually harm the countries when they get there.
Okay, but going forward, if you were to tip any of them going into the next group, who would it be going through?
Yeah, going forward, the Ivorians stand a strong chance.
Right.
They won their first game against Japan, and they are in a group with Colombia and Greece also. So they just have to draw 2 matches and they are through. But Ghana, we've got an uphill task. We have to beat Germany, who have been taxed by their countrymen to bring the trophy by force. They have to win it because they've placed third, and they are tired of that. And so it's a very difficult task for Ghana to beat Germany and go on to beat Portugal, who might also play for pride. And then apart from that, as for Algeria, they might not make it. Then Nigeria will have to face Argentina and the rest to qualify. So and Bosnia, Herzegovina. So the Ivorian stands out as the clear cut country to maybe possibly come out of the group, unless a miracle happens. But as we speak now, the Ivorians stands as the only country that can come out of their group.
Right. If you had any advice for our coach, Kwesi Appiah, what would you tell him finally going into Saturday's game?
Yeah, in coaching, you always have to listen to your instinct, and your instinct is the right being that tells you what is the truth, not the people around you. So what I would tell him, I've been asking him to listen to his instinct. You don't let Opare come late to join the Black Stars in Accra, miss 2 international friendlies, play him in the main competition and tell Ghanaians he did well at the training ground. That is untruth. So he must be truthful to himself as a coach and do the right thing. Put the right players at the right position. Look at the opponents. Look at what the antidote you can have for their arsenals or for their players. And then you can be able to overcome them. He should not look at faces and think, I have to please ACM because he's a big man. Please keep people at him. Please Sule or please somebody. Do the right thing. Listen to your instinct. Don't fail in Brazil and then you go to your house and sleep on your bed and realize, I could have done this, I could have done that. Do it now and have the result. So to me, my advice for him is to be truthful to himself, listen to his instinct, and then be able to deliver for Ghana.
Coach Opele, football tactician and analyst, thank you very much for the insights you've shared with us today. Okay, and we are furthering the discussion here. Before I take some of your comments, though, I have my brother, my colleague from Joy Sports, Ernest Boama, back here with me. He traveled for a bit, but he's back. My brother, welcome.
Good.
I hear you've lost your dad.
Yeah.
Our condolences to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad day on Monday, and where we are on. I mean, we have to carry on. Life still goes on.
Of course it does. But have our sympathy. When the time comes, at least we'll come and show our support and our love.
Yeah, I know. I mean, multimedia will be there to support me.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But let's look at African teams they are showing so far. Coach Opele has had his own take on it. As someone who's also in the thick of things, what is your take on all of that?
I think it's really been disappointing. I mean, especially when the Cameroon started the course. I mean, they lost. Cote d'Ivoire gave us some kind of hope, and we thought it could follow. But then Nigeria, Ghana, Algeria, I would say at a point I was tipping them to go further because I mean, the matches they played, the friendly matches that they played towards the World Cup, I mean, they were getting good results. So I was tipping them to show up a very good cause for themselves. But again, I mean, they also lost like the way Ghana lost over there. So for me, it looks as if hope is lost. Cote d'Ivoire, I know, can sail through because of the materials they have in there. The likes of Giovanni, Yature, the African best player, and Didier Drogba, I mean, with his experience, though he can't give you a full 90 minutes game, but anytime he enters the pitch, he adds certain kind of value to the players already existing, like on the pitch again. So for me, I think that Cote d'Ivoire, per their win, I mean, if they're able to secure another win again, they are almost through to it. But again, football, there are uncertainties in there. Anything could happen. A team could win by 6 goals first game and probably come out. So for me, looking at all these things, realistically now on paper, Cote d'Ivoire looks very good, in going. Cameroon, I thought that someone Etofils could have charmed something in there, but again, they also have their own issues. If you realize, I mean, their appearance fee was an issue before they had to board the plane in coming. So for me, it looks as if they are in for money and they've got the money now. So what happens in the World Cup is not an issue for us. Nigeria, again, big disappointment for Stephen Keshi because I was expecting him to do really good. I saw him in South Africa. He's one coach who instills discipline in his boys. He doesn't take any rubbish from any player.
Of course, he's a Nigerian. Come on.
Yes, and I mean, you see the Nigerians at that type. I mean, they are very hard. They are determined. They show that aggressiveness in there. So I was thinking that he could have taken charge of his boys, but I don't know what happened to his boys that day. That's it. Nothing was really at stake. Because you're playing against Iran, and in that group, there's Argentina. Bosnia did very well. They lost to Argentina.
But they fought to fight.
That is it. I mean, they really gave them Argentina a tough time. So I thought that, I mean, then Iran should have been an easy win for Nigeria. They'll probably get a draw or something, maybe a win over Bosnia. Then Argentina probably would join them in qualifying. But Nigeria lost that. But again, you can't just write them off again. If Stephen Keshi, that I knew in South Africa 2010 could cause magic, then I think there's hope for Nigeria.
There's hope for Nigeria.
They can probably bounce back. I mean, to 2014, I think 2012 in South Africa. So I think if Stephen Keshi rallies up something, he can get a result. But for Algeria, again, I mean, it looks very dicey.
Dicey now.
It is very dicey now. But Ghana, our group, I really want to talk because, I mean, people thought that, I mean, with the teams in there, Germany, Portugal, US,
at least would have capitalized on US, of course, I mean, to finish the...
Get 3 points from US. Then maybe between Germany, Portugal, maybe get a draw somewhere, then sail through. But lost. But again, for me, one thing that I have hope in is that our boys performed better.
They did. Much.
Yeah, I mean, of all the games that I've watched in our World Cup, I mean, this game, we were attacking. Just that, I mean, the tactics wasn't working right. We were crossing the balls from the flanks, and that was not easy for us. So I thought at the point we should have varied our games a little bit. But if Kosapia says he's learned his lesson, I just would hope that
on Saturday we'll see something great.
Opele gave a statistic that, I mean, no African team has come out of
Group G, yes.
But again, there's another message that says that no German team in a World Cup has won a second game.
Okay. Then perhaps that would be, you know, what will favor us.
So probably we are hoping for a draw against Germany.
And then hoping that the mathematics will favor us later.
I mean, with football, once it's a league and we start, mathematics will have to be there.
Of course.
So we can't run away from it. And people will say that you always start calculating. Of course, we calculate. But
of course.
The easiest way is to win
and go sleep, of course.
That is it. But once there's 3 plus another 3, there's a plus minus goals, calculation steps in there.
Right.
So we have to play by it. So I just hope that that says that Germany hasn't won any second game in their qualifiers would also help us.
Right.
Then probably we can have a chance there. But for Portugal, I have this strong conviction that we will win against Portugal.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Their supply has been taken out of the game now. And the supply is Pepe. He always sends the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo and he does it. So the supply is not in there now.
But apparently Ronaldo might be missing.
Yeah, I mean, those are the rumors.
Exactly.
Yeah, for me, I wish that he was there.
Exactly, so we can win against them.
They wouldn't have any excuse to give us.
Right.
We beat them squarely and it will be an interesting game. But for me, I just hope that it goes well for us on Saturday.
Right.
So for me, I think that Ghana still has a chance in there. Côte d'Ivoire, if they don't relax and know that there's something ahead of them, they could sail through and go. I mean, against Colombia, I think they should have a chance in going through. But for Nigeria, so sad for Stephen Keshi. I just felt that he should have gone to the next stage to make a case that African coaches who instill discipline into their boys always get the good results. I mean, his boys went on the pitch and I don't know what happened against you. I don't know that they felt that Iran was a weaker team, so they could go in there and, well, I mean, football now is everywhere. I mean, before I played football.
Indeed, it is.
I mean, they also make sure that they also pack their defense well, play a tactical game, and Nigeria couldn't get their goals as they would have to wish for. So I think that it's been disappointing first round. But let's see. There are 2 more games to play in each group.
In each group, yes.
Anything could happen. Football doesn't follow certain logic.
Very strict,
Yeah, so for me, first game, you've lost. Spain lost its first game last World Cup.
Yeah.
But went to win.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not lost.
All is not lost.
All is not lost, yeah.
Okay, but coming to Saturday, what would you like to see before then?
Coming to Saturday, I think Kwesi Appiah should be of himself.
Okay.
I know now the passion is coming. And at this stage, you're tempted to play by their selection. But I think that Kwesi Appiah had a plan going to this tournament, how to tackle each game.
Right.
So then if he feels that probably he lost against US, maybe his tactics didn't work.
Time to change game plan.
You change, but stick to that game plan that you have.
Okay.
Materials are yours. You know the boys very well. If you fill in the right players, the psychologist does his work on the boys. Let them forget about what happened. Search for it. Germany is a beatable team. Yeah, I mean, Germany is a beatable team. No team is invincible.
Of course.
So I think that if we should think that we can win against them, with that experience from 2010, where we were virtually written off.
Right,
but we managed to go through it. I believe that we can do it.
Most definitely.
I mean, if you watch that game 2010, that Germany scored at just 1 goal.
1 goal.
I think we played very well until that free kick that came and they punished us. For me, I think that play it hard. Tactically, our defense should be very intact. And one thing that Ghana will lose out is that our first 10 minutes, it seems we lose concentration.
Yeah.
And that's where our psychologists have to work on them. Stand on your feet. Know what's at stake. Don't be too sure of yourself. That's what happened to us on Monday. John Boy, what happened to him?
We'll talk about John Boy another day. Thank you very much, my brother.
I think it's not popular now.
It is.
I mean, if you go on
trending everywhere.
Facebook, I mean, his name is always there. People even greet him in the morning.
Good morning, John Boy. I'm trying for us to take some few comments before we go, so I don't cut those on social media out of this. After all, the show is about you and what you are also saying on social media. Let's take some of your comments now. And the precursor is already there. And let me see who is dropping in with the first comment for today. Technology, just it's reloading, so once it does, I'll take your comments and then we'll go. Okay, the first one today is coming from Baba Musa Tamale, and Baba Musa says, I believe Ghana can still make a difference and qualify in the next 2 matches. Nice. I think all African teams except Côte d'Ivoire will be eliminated. And Kudo says, oh, Africa. Gilbert says, very poor performance and will not have any future in this tournament. Really, the Africans? Oh, Charlie. Africa, come on. Nelson Kwekudazu says most of the African players are not committed to their countries, and the game to win at this stage requires more than talent. Nice. Darlington says, Massa, let's face facts. Ghana has never qualified from any group stage. At least let's reserve the taxpayers' money. Really? Seidu says, we will shine. I believe in Africa. Go Ghana. Aita Derek, very, very poor. Oh, Ghana, oh, Cameroon, oh, Algeria, oh, Nigeria. Is all is not lost yet. You can still make us proud. You guys should up your game. I'm hoping they're listening. Bright says they are really fighting hard, but when they score one, they relax. They should always attack even when leading. So it's just to say never until the bones are rotten. So push till the 90th minute, and that is where we ended for today. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with the show. It is your show, after all. My partner is back. We're wrapping up together. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Time now for us to go. And certainly, let's tell our viewers that more stories will come their way on News at 8 with Israel Live.
Yeah.
And you should expect all the various angles with regards to the EC bosses meeting in Parliament as well. Right. My name is Prince.
And JN Exclusive, we have something on antibiotics, and you really don't want to miss it. You want to know the ins and outs of that. So stick and stay with us. My name, as always, is Marian Toure.
And I am Prince Minka.
Have a good evening. See you again tomorrow.